Welcome back, Wagoneers, to another exciting episode of the Wasted Wagons podcast. With us here we have Todd, Pat, and myself. I'm Travis. We have a lot of empty seats around this table, and unfortunately that's kind of the way it's been for the summer. But let's do a quick check-in. Mike?
Sean? Russell?
Biff?
Hi, guys. We miss you.
This summer has just been kind of really bad with getting everybody on board with doing the pod, so we've had a little lighter crews this summer. But we're actually going to do, since over the past couple of weeks since we've last had a podcast, we've actually been, the three of us actually have been to a number of breweries, and we're going to do like a special brewery review episode. So if you're interested in craft breweries, this is going to be your episode to listen to, and we're actually going to be hitting 3 different states, I believe, as far as where these breweries are located. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Pat. He's going to start us off.
Okay. I went to Houston recently for over 4th of July weekend, and I only went to the one normal brewery. I went to Equal Parts, obviously. Had a good time there. There was nothing really new on tap, although I did get to sample one beer that's not in can yet. So I don't really want to talk about it too much because I don't know when it's going to be available. But it was pretty good. I'm pretty excited about it. Hopefully it's not just tap room only. You can buy cans because I think it's a really good beer. But
can you give us a little teaser and just let us know like what kind of beer it was?
It was a Imperial Stout.
Ooh, okay.
Very similar to the Black Masses that I've had from Brash and from Equal before, who distributes to them as well. But yeah, dark beer, not super heavy, so you could drink multiple of them and not feel kind of weighed down and bloated and all that jazz about it. But it was good. So, but this time we ventured to 2 different breweries. The other brewery I'm not really going to talk about because I only had one beer from there, and it was a Mexican lager. It was very good. And full disclosure, I don't remember the name of the brewery, so I'm sorry.
I feel like a lot of breweries are starting to release Mexican lagers. If I sent you guys today, Second Line actually released theirs.
Yep. Yeah, at least one of the breweries I went to, I'm going to talk to, actually had one of their signature beers was a Mexican lager.
Yeah, like it's not a knock on this brewery. I just have a bad memory right now, and I only sampled one beer from there, and it was really good. So I'll give them the praise of that. But I'll edit the name and put their name in there at some point later when I get about it. The other brewery we went to was Eureka Heights.
Okay.
And I'd heard about it a bunch of times. My nephew goes a lot, and it's in a pretty cool little area. And the atmosphere the beers were good. The atmosphere, I think, is a lot better because you walk in and there's like a big pinball / game room. It's mostly pinball. And they have pinball tournaments like once a week on like a weekday. So they had about like 20, 25 pinball machines. A lot of people playing those. Huge open space, kind of like if you walked in the urban South. That's kind of open and spacious like that. And then you walk up to the second part of the brewery that has like the actual seating. Great Heights. Yes, I'm sorry. Great Heights was the first brewery I went to. The beer had a religious sort of name to it, something Mary or Maria, Santa Maria, I believe. But that was a really good Mexican lager. I enjoyed it. It's the only thing I drank from there. Their menu selection was a little small, and nothing really caught my eye that was like a standout or like a seasonal kind of thing. So, yeah, I don't really have too much of a review for that. Solid beer. I'd give it a 4 out of 5. Nothing wrong with it at all. I just didn't really try much from them. And the place had more of like a coffee shop kind of feel to it. It was like kind of small. They had little tables kind of close to each other. The music and the ambiance and the look of the place was very non-douchey coffee shop-esque. So very chill, laid back, a lot of just friendly 1 and 2 conversations going on. But the Eureka Heights was much, much bigger. Kind of like I said, you walk into like the little pinball and seating area, and then you walk into the other space that has where the bar is. They had probably 15, 20 TVs and one huge projector. And what the guy was telling me was that on like football Sundays or like for baseball games, they'll roll the projector down and just have like, it'll be like a big watch party for games. So that's a really cool, I'd be definitely interested to go watch a game there be it football or even just baseball, maybe even the World Cup games next year when they're in Houston. That would be a good spot if I don't get to go to a game.
The instantly that comes to my mind when you, and I know what you just described is not the exact atmosphere, but instantly that comes to my mind is Zony Mash, which, rest in peace. Zony Mash is also closed now in the New Orleans area, but they used to have the big projector screen, and I know we went around Halloween time one year, and they'd be playing horror movies up on it. They're very cool.
It would be like a good combo of Zony Mash and Chifuncta with like the open airness of it, like that. Maybe a little bit of Urban South as well, just how the table situation, some of the TVs were all set up. I tried 3 beers. One of their staple core beers is one called Buckle Bunny. It's a cream ale, and there's another derivative that I didn't try. It's got a buckle in the name of it as well, but I don't remember which one that is. It was good. It was probably 3.5 out of 5. Not a bad beer. It's just nothing I'd write home about. Nothing I'd want to. I'd maybe bring back one can of it for y'all to try, but it's not gonna blow you away. But it's a good beer. Mm-hmm. More importantly, the other 2 beers I did take home a single can of. One of them was called Nuke the Whales. It's an orange vanilla bourbon barrel aged imperial milk stout.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. It was really, really good. I brought back 2 cans, one for us to try later on, and one actually sampled and drank before I left to come back. That was really good. Probably 4.5 out of 5. Really good beer. I wish they had more. I would have bought at least a 6-pack or 2 to bring back. The second beer I brought back was called Jack. It's an oatmeal. It's not another oatmeal stout, but really good beer. I'm trying to think what a similar beer that tasted like.
It's interesting though. It's named Jack, so it's almost like when we went to
Cincinnati.
and Reinheit's Brewery, and they had the one that Todd and I both really liked was called Steve.
Yeah.
So this was called Jack. So I wonder if they're just named after people at the brewery who work there or own it.
The can looks really cool. It has flannel boys of winter on top, and there's like a little yellow and black flannel kind of pattern to the top, and then it's like actual can with all the name of the beer and the ABV on it like that. What was the beer you brought back for me from Hattiesburg?
That was the oatmeal stout. I don't remember the name, but the can of it had the Quaker oatmeal guy on it. It was a very, very good. That was from Southern Prohibition out in Hattiesburg. Really good brew.
It tasted very similar to that. So very good beer. I definitely enjoyed it, and I brought back another one again for us to sample at some point later. But that's the closest beer I can think of that it reminded me of, and also very, very good. Another 4.5 kind of beer. But I didn't do too much beer tasting, even though we went to 3 different breweries. Kind of just the equals, the normal, always consistent, always good. So got my fix in there. Got a couple of Black Masses, which is always a favorite of mine. And then finally got to Eureka Heights, which was good to go and see the place. And lovely atmosphere. Like looks like it'd be really cool. Like you did like a party or like went to like a watch party for some sort of sporting event. So A+ on the atmosphere and the vibe. The pinball tournament would be really cool to see. If I ever catch it like during a week when I'm out there or something like that, though.
Yeah. So I know you've mentioned you go to Houston quite often. You have family there. Brewery hopping is usually something that is a regular of yours when you do go. I know you've mentioned Brass. You mentioned Equal Parts. You've mentioned Saloon Door. Are there some other ones out there that maybe aren't as known to our listeners that you still want to go try?
Oh yeah, and even some names you have heard of. There's one called Valentin's. I've been there before, had a couple really good beers there. They're another kind of small atmosphere brewery, but they turned out some really, really good beers. St. Arnold, even though I've had their beers, I have not been to the brewery in forever.
Yeah. So I may have mentioned this on a previous pod. Now, we've been the same. I've been to St. Arnold's twice. Todd went once. The first time we went, I really liked it. I felt like it had that. Still had that old school vibe. They actually gave you tokens, and you got to use like 4 tokens or whatnot. You gave them that, and you got to sample like a smaller beer.
So the first time you went was with me and Brian Bankston?
Yes, and they gave us tokens, and then you got to sample 4 beers, I think, with the kind of a smaller glass. And then if you liked them, you went back and bought a pint. The second time I went was for a bachelor party, and it was probably 4 or 5 years later. And it was different in the sense where they've kind of, at this point, I guess they've kind of went mainstream. You see their beers all over the place here. They made quite a few upgrades to the inside of the facility, and it's become more of like a bar and grill now. The beers have expanded; they've got way more beers on tap, but they no longer do the token system. I think the brewery tours are a little bit fewer and further between than they were back then. Still great, but I still like that. I guess I'm always going back to Sam Adams and thinking about my first brew tour experience, and that still has set the tone for breweries. And the first time I went to St. Arnold's, I got more of that feel. The second time, I got more of it was kind of like popularized and mainstream and wasn't quite the same feel. Now, don't get me wrong, the beer is still delicious, so I'm not knocking the beer by any stretch, but I do still kind of like that old school vibe compared to like the more modern, bar and grill vibe.
And I know in the group text before I left, I said I was going to try and go to that place Cidercade, which is like a huge arcade place, and now they used to bring in like outside brewery beers, so like for can that you could buy and drink. Well, now they finally have their own beers available, and it's pretty much all cider, I believe.
Oh, nice.
Unfortunately, didn't get a chance to go just because of time and some other things I had to do. But that's definitely on the list to go to. It's better to go apparently during the week because it's super busy on the weekend. It means like it's a huge arcade place, so it's pretty jam packed on the weekends, as I'm told. And Saloon Door will happen next time because that's like a 20-30 minute ride from my sister or my nephew's house. So just got to kind of plan that out a little bit more. It's not that much farther away from some of the other breweries. It's just in an opposite direction, and there's only really, I believe, that one brewery out there. So it's like a kind of like plan like a day trip to go do it. But I mean, I've raved about their beers before, so I'm curious to try some of the stuff that's on tap instead of what I can just get in can. That's But nothing crazy this time. Just a couple really good spots, some really good beers. The only complaint I had was that Eureka Heights didn't have a ton of their beers available in can. They had a couple of the core beers, which were fine. They were good. But again, there weren't anything that I would like bring back home specifically. Like, you got to try this, Most all of them were good beers, and I like them. Probably wouldn't bring them back, but there wasn't a ton available in can, which is the only downside. But I mean, that's not their fault. They probably sold a good bit of it. And it was a Sunday, so it was a little bit slow. So who knows what the rotation was like while I was there. So, but overall, solid, very solid place. Definitely would recommend checking out if you're ever in the area and then you just want to get a pop in for a beer and check out whatever the atmosphere is.
All right, so if you had to rank the Houston breweries that you've been to 1, 2, 3, let's not go top 5. Let's just go top 3. What would you say would be your top 3 Houston breweries?
Old Brash before they closed for a little while, just because the music atmosphere, the game machine atmosphere, the quality of the beers and the number of beers that they had, hard to beat that. I would probably put Equal second, just because it's always really good in terms of the beers. They have some new ones that come in and out, and they're always really good. I wouldn't say the atmosphere is stale. I mean, I've been there so much; it's like second home to me. I would probably say Saloon Door is probably going to be third when I actually go there.
Okay. Just
because of the beers that I've had. They've all been top notch. Never had anything bad from there. Even the most basic beer was
So you've just kind of bought their beers like at a store or
Yeah.
Okay.
Normally I just go to like a Total Wine and pick up, like if I'm getting like Maui for you guys, and I'll just go run to the single can section and just grab a bunch of things that I haven't tried before. But I would say those are probably from a beer standpoint, the top 3, I'd say for sure. Saloon Door, I'm sure, is probably really cool to like inside, but their beers are incredible. So I'd give them third.
Okay.
Val's is another one's really good beer, really good atmosphere. Fairly simple, traditional place, but it's really, really good. So if places I've been to, they'd probably be 3 until I go to Saloon Door.
Very good. All right, Todd. Well, Todd recently went to a Little League World Series or Travel Ball World Series out in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and he actually went to 3 breweries while there. So he's going to kind of give us his rundown on those 3.
All right, so the first one we went to was, and the whole team actually came to this one because it was a brewery / restaurant. So the brewery, it was in like this like kind of like, I guess, an area where there was just a whole lot of stuff going on. But the brewery was to the left. They had a little walkway in between the brewery and the restaurant. And the restaurant was to the right. It was called the Crooked Hammock. and definitely an atmosphere place. Although one of the best beers I think I've tried on the trip was from there. They didn't have a whole lot on tap, which was kind of disappointing. I think they only had like 5 beers on taps. One was like a generic lager. They had, I think, 2 sours, and one was an IPA, and then the other was the one that I ended up getting and drinking, I think, 2 pints of. And it was called, let me see, we're going to sample it and put it on the table for you guys.
Okay. Yeah, like so. Going while I'll kind of talk while he's kind of like Houston has so many breweries that it's hard to like figure out how to like hit 50 plus breweries. Unfortunately, what I'm hearing is a lot of breweries are closing. There were 2 that were just recently closed within the last, I guess, couple months since the last time I had been, which is kind of sucks. But there's like a lot of saturation, and just some of the small ones kind of really can't keep up.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm going to talk after Todd and talk about the breweries out in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and there's only 2 that are still in existence that are in Tuscaloosa, and the brewery owners, we actually met both owners while we were there, and they very much support each other. Like the first one we went to, we'll talk about it in a second, but he said, "Oh, did you try this one?" I said, "Well, actually, we were going to go to this one first and then come to y'all tomorrow, but y'all opened earlier, so we came here first." And he's like, "Yeah, we're like really good friends. We have very friendly competition." Well, then we go to the other one, and he says the same thing about the other owner, and he says, "We actually had a third one, but unfortunately, it recently closed just because they couldn't make it." So yeah, it's a rough thing, and I know we talked a little bit about it on our previous episode, just that a lot of the younger generation seems to be shifting away from craft beer and maybe drinking the hard seltzers and whatnot. And unfortunately, maybe that's where, a lot of these breweries can't make it anymore.
Yeah, Todd, if I may real quickly. And that's the one cool thing about Houston. Pretty much every brewery that I went to and that we go to, they support all the other breweries. Like, yes, they're all in quote unquote competition, but it's almost like for the greater good of the industry.
Yep.
I see a lot of stickers on the wall or posters of other breweries hanging up at these breweries, and the bartenders will absolutely recommend to you another good brewery to go to or try. So it's really cool to see that atmosphere. Like, there's no real shit talking about another brewery because they all do something a little different in some way and have a specialty, and they're all kind of there to support the industry and kind of keep it alive.
Yeah, the one thing you notice in like pretty much every craft brewery you go to is they have like stickers of all the other independent craft breweries like from around the country. So I always think that's pretty cool that they support each other. But the one beer that I found interesting that was on the Crooked Hammocks menu that they had on tap was called South of Somewhere, and it's a golden coconut ale. And I've never had a golden coconut ale. I think most of the coconut beers that I've had were either at porters or stouts. So this one, of course, was very, very intriguing, and I asked for a sample of it, tried it, and I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna get a pint of that. And I ended up getting 2, and I liked it so much I ended up buying a 4-pack before I left. So I'm gonna get you guys to sample it in a little bit, but it really is probably one of the best beers that I tried on the trip, despite the fact that Crooked Hammock didn't have a whole lot on tap. But it was definitely, again, like I said, more of an atmosphere place. The brewery and the restaurant were kind of separated into 2 separate buildings. They had a huge merch store. And Jessica, I think, was interested in getting the shirt and for some reason didn't get it. But that's where I got the 4-pack of the South to Somewhere coconut ale. The second one I went to, once I saw the sign, it made me wonder if it was related to one that I went to in Pittsburgh. It was Voodoo Brewing in Myrtle Beach. And I didn't think it was. I thought that they were 2 separate places because the beers at this one were so much better than the beers that I remember getting in Pittsburgh. So when I pulled up the menu, I got 4 of them, and one of them was absolutely amazing. And I know Patrick is a big sour guy.
What? Yes, you know me so well.
So I'm gonna. They had quite an extensive menu. They didn't have too many cans to take. Like the 4-packs and the singles, they didn't offer a whole lot of that. Where the hell is my Safari?
Fun.
But they had a shit ton on draft.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You said fun fact.
No, I was going to say fun fact. I had to go to Urban South 2 weeks ago to help Russell with a Hogs team event.
And you were mesmerized by the sours?
No, I wasn't. I was kind of turned off with it. But you know what I did try a sample of?
Lime cucumber?
I did.
And what did you think?
Not as terrible as I remember. Would I buy another one? Probably not. But
So while we're on the topic of sours, real quick, we've mentioned our local convenience store out here on Jefferson Highway called Saving Time, which used to be like a craft brew headquarters almost. They had craft beers from not only New Orleans, but out in Georgia, Tennessee, a whole bunch of them. I went there, I think 2 weeks ago, picked up a round of, a few cans that I'd never tried. And one of them was a watermelon sour. I think it was called Scare Bear Watermelon Sour. And look, I'm just gonna flat out say it. I'm still trying to like sours, but it was absolutely repulsive. I mean, it was funny because I bought it for Heather, and then Heather's sister somewhat likes sours, so we're opening the can, and none of us really want to drink the whole can, so we each kind of take a third and drink it, and it kind of was met with the same review around the table that it was just pretty undrinkable. It was just too sour. You hit with the watermelon in the beginning, but it just leaves that very sour, tart aftertaste. So, yeah. Can't get into them like Todd and Sean and Mike, I guess.
Yeah. And Russell maybe a little bit.
I think Russell likes the lime cucumber, though.
Oh, he does.
And again, Heather likes sours, and she didn't like this one.
All right, so what I got at the Voodoo Brewing, I tried 4 of their beers. One was called Big Black Voodoo Daddy.
Was this in a flight, or was this 4 different?
No, it was a flight. I ended up getting a flight at Voodoo and the next one I went to, because they just had a shit ton on tap. Like I wasn't gonna get a flight at Crooked Hammock because they pretty much only had 5 beers on tap. So it was not, like I said, maybe one of the sours and the South of Somewhere were the only 2 that somewhat intrigued me. So I got a Big Black Voodoo Daddy, which was a seasonal stout. I got one called Rugger Light, which was, I know Patrick's got something to say.
What? I didn't say anything. How you only going to blame me?
I'm going to road Patrick against you something again.
Travis looked at me too, and he had the same sort of face going on. So don't just blame me for this.
Is Patrick a jerk?
Well,
is he Big Black Voodoo Daddy?
I can be, I guess. I don't know.
So I had that one, which was a seasonal stout. I had one called Rugger Light, which was actually distributed by the third brewery I went to. So it wasn't even one of Voodoo's own.
Did the Big Black taste good?
It was all right. It wasn't the best stout I had. I had one and this is one Travis actually said, if they have this one in the cans, get it for me. It was called World Court Mocha Blonde.
That sounds pretty good.
That was probably the second best one. And then the last one I got, the best one I had, where is it? I found the name of this bad boy. It was a sour.
Well, while you're pulling it up, the mocha.
I just saw it.
The Mocha Blonde. All right, so we've already talked about second line having a very good coffee blonde, and that it made a few of our list in the local top 5 beers. And then we just got finished in a previous episode, the previous 2 episodes, discussing Angel City Brewing. And my favorite beer they had there was a coffee blonde. So coffee blondes are good. So when I saw that menu, I was like, damn, if they have that can, please bring me back, because I love to try coffee blondes.
Yeah, they didn't have that one in the 4-pack, but the one that I got that was the best, and they also didn't have this one in cans either. It's called Raspberry Lime Cheesecake Blender, and it was a sour, but it was absolutely amazing. Probably one of the best sours I had. It was kind of, trying to think if there was anything comparable that I've had to it in the past.
So was this one was it a creamy sour? Because the sours that I tend to like are the ones that Port Orleans has where they put a little bit of yogurt in it and it ends up becoming like the Dole Whip or the creamsicle sour that we were like so much over there.
Now you could definitely taste like a creaminess to it, but it wasn't like the cream thickle that had like a big chunk of fucking yogurt in it.
See, I think that is what makes sours better for me, when they do have that thickness to them, the creaminess to them.
Like them thicker?
Yeah, I like sours thicker, yeah.
But but Voodoo's Raspberry Lime Cheesecake Blender was my favorite at this one, so I ended up getting a pint of that after the flight.
Raspberry Lime Cheesecake? That sounds like a lot of flavor.
It was good.
I'm not saying I don't doubt that it would be good. It's just that's an interesting combination of flavors to go with. The cheesecake, I guess, really throws me a bit off, but maybe with the raspberry, it works.
So like occasionally I'll see a sour on a menu and want to try it maybe in a flight. And if I saw that up on a menu, I probably would put that in a flight just to try it, knowing that I don't like sours, but that might be one that I could potentially get into just because of all the flavor. That was kind of the same way I ended up not liking the Urban South Cucumber Lime was trying it just by seeing it on the menu and saying, oh, that sounds okay. But then when I tried it, I wasn't a humongous fan like most of the crew here.
Now, let me ask you, how many bad raspberry beers have you had?
Not many.
Purple Haze is great. The raspberry coffee break at
Port Orleans.
Port Orleans, which was just like a seasonal temporary release, was absolutely amazing. I wish they would have put that in a can or a bottle.
It may be St. Arnold, didn't they?
Yes,
have?
yes.
Yeah, they have a raspberry.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a sour, but it's definitely a raspberry beer.
It is. It's got the little picnic table.
Yes,
can.
yes.
It's not a sour. I think it's just a raspberry lager or a raspberry pilsner or something like that.
That was pretty good. I don't know if I've had a bad raspberry beer or a raspberry sour, but then I know I haven't had very many though, so my palate's limited.
Raspberry AF, that's what it's called.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Those three are all solid raspberry beers. So, and I like them all, and that's probably the only three I've had as well. But they're all good. So I would imagine it would be something I would be willing to try.
So as far as the first two I've named, Crooked Hammock and in Voodoo, I would give Voodoo the edge over Crooked Hammock just because of the sheer number of beers and most of them being good. And of course, that raspberry lime cheesecake blender was impeccable.
How many hearts?
Oof. I'm gonna say 4.8.
Oh, that's high praise.
Now this is about right up there too. The South of Somewhere is probably about 4.8.
That's a really cool logo too, or can
Yeah.
design.
Yes, it is.
So let's not get too excited with the 4.8 rating on that sour for Todd. I know his palate differs from ours.
Well, you guys aren't going to be able to try it anyway. So
Well, his palate might be fairly close to ours. I think Todd enjoys certain things, much like the two of us also enjoy. So his palate may not be too far off.
Just a little bit with beer. I mean, he does like stouts. We're all dark beer fans over here, so that's probably
He likes chocolate too.
most of us are anti IPA pretty much over here. So
Yeah.
So the last beer I went to, and what really made me want to go to this one, I thought we were kind of running out of time and maybe only going to 2 breweries, but we ended up going to all 3. I tried the beer at so Camden played his baseball tournament at another Ripken Park, so they're big into Ripken Parks are big travel ball World Series parks. We went last year to the one in Pigeon Forge, which was super, super nice. Probably the nicest travel ball park I've ever been to. And this one in Myrtle Beach was nice as well. Obviously, you don't have like the view that you get in Pigeon Forge, but it was still a super nice park. But this one actually served beer. Like, I don't think the one in Pigeon Forge did. So during the pregame ceremonies, where Mark Reynolds actually was speaking to the kids, I went up and walked and got myself a craft beer, and of course they had they had like Miller Lite and Bud Light and stuff, but they had like 3 craft beers as well, and I saw one from them called the Salty Golfer, which is what Travis actually brought.
yeah, we're actually going to be sampling that towards the end of this episode too.
And it's very, very similar to Maui. It's a
Okay.
so let's see, the word they use, it's
Salty Golfer.
it's just a pineapple lager, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting name.
And I will say, like my sense of it's a good beer. The pineapple. The weird part is that like with the pineapple, when it goes in, it tastes really good, and then it becomes really pineapple-y after you have it in your mouth for a little while. After you swallow it, you can kind of taste it. It's almost like the pineapple taste expands a little bit. But so to me, it goes in a lot better than it finishes. But it's still a good beer. Again, I got a 6-pack of it. I probably drank 4 of them just over the weekend. So
Yeah, so we went to the Crooked Hammock first because it was a dinner spot that everybody wanted to eat at. Then after one of Camden's games, we went to the boardwalk area, which in North Myrtle Beach is not really much of a boardwalk. More it is a giant like shopping complex. But that's where Voodoo was, so that's why we went there second. But when I looked at all the pictures of the breweries, and Travis can attest to this, when we go on trips, I usually am the one that kind of review which ones to which breweries to go to, and I normally look at them based off the pictures that are on Google, and Grand Strand was the one that I feel like looked the best, and it definitely had the best atmosphere of the three. But that's where the Salty Golfer was made. So we ended up going there third, and again I got another flight because they had so much on tap, and we've probably seen this in several other breweries here and at several places we went, but all the beers that they had each had their own unique painted like label hanging on the wall, which I thought was really cool. And they had all the previous ones that they don't use anymore, like kind of hanging off in the back or the sides. But the 4 beers that I tried, I did get Salty Golfer in my flight because I liked it so much. But I also ended up getting one called a Jolene Red Ale, which was almost like had a very, very Killian's-like taste to it. I got one called Hot as Hellas Lager, Hotter Than Hellas Lager, Czech Crisp Lager. And then this one was probably the most disappointing one I got in the group because I just had a really good blonde ale at Angel City Brewing, and the bartender said it was his favorite, or the brewmaster said it was his favorite. And it was called Big Boned Monk Belgian Blonde Ale. But it was I wasn't crazy about it. It was probably the one I liked the least in my flight. But both the Salty Golfer and the Jolene Red Ale were phenomenal. So it's like I almost got me a 4-pack or a 6-pack of the Jolene Red Ale as well as bringing Travis and Sean the 6-packs of the Salty Golfer. But as far as the atmosphere at his place, as Patrick mentioned in one of the previous breweries he talked about, there was a whole pinball room on the side, and they also had the pinball tournaments in it, and Camden was like glued to him, so he didn't even want to leave when we were like leaving. So that's always a plus when you go to these breweries and they have, I guess, certain amenities that the kids can get attached to. So kind of like Crooked Hammock. Crooked Hammock had a bunch of games and stuff outside, like the big checkerboards and of course cornhole. But a big plus for Grand Strand was that they had that pinball room. And, they had a cool Deadpool pinball game. They had a Godzilla one. They had the Jurassic Park one. Bunch of cool games. It's a cool environment. And it was located in South Myrtle Beach, which we said is like the bad area. Mm-hmm. But I mean, compared to downtown New Orleans and Baltimore, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I know it's a lot of resources and time and money to invest in having like a game room or kind of pinball machines or video arcade machines in like breweries. But I think it goes a long way to keeping business there and having something for like the kids to do to keep them occupied while the adults try and sample beers and things like that. But also it's something for the adults too. And like having a pinball tournament one day during the week or every month or whatever, that's a really cool idea to keep drawing business to your bar, into your establishment. I wish a lot more breweries would have things like that just to help keep everyone occupied. And again, it keeps them in the door longer, potentially sells more beer for you. But I understand sometimes it can be a money thing because those things aren't cheap either. But I wish more breweries did have arcades or something other than just like a board game setup for people to enjoy.
Yeah, because I mean, I can even tell you, Travis can probably back me on this. When we used to go to the arcades, the pinball games were always the things I would gravitate towards. I was never really good at the video game arcade games, but the pinball games I could really get attached to. One more thing before I hand it over to Travis, though, because I did mention that I was wondering if the Voodoo Brewing that I went to in Myrtle Beach was the same or a different branch of the one I went to in Pittsburgh. So while I was at Grand Strand, I was talking to the bartender, and I was explaining to him I saw the Rugger Light sign hanging in the back, and I was like, "Oh, look, I see y'all are the ones that brew Rugger Light. I actually had that at Voodoo Brewing the other day." And he was like, "Well, that Voodoo is actually a brew pub. All their stuff is distributed from Pittsburgh." And I was like, "Oh, that makes total sense because I went to a Voodoo Brewing in Pittsburgh." But like I said, like I wasn't impressed with the Voodoo Brewing when we went to Pittsburgh. I didn't think any of the beers there were like top notch, or none of them stood out to me. This one had a ton of good beers, so I don't know if it was just the time we went that the seasonal beers, they had certain seasonal beers on tap.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a seasonal thing. I think even though they were both summers, so it was kind of strange because we went around the same time, around 4th of July-ish. But same. I remember the Voodoo in Pittsburgh probably being my least favorite one that we went to there, and I think it was IPA heavy because I remember looking at the menu and not having many of them that I wanted to try.
Yeah, I think I got a flight there, and I ended up getting an IPA on my flight, which I normally don't do because they had so many of them.
Now, but before we fully move on from the breweries that you attended out in Myrtle Beach, there was one that this was also. I noticed that it was at Voodoo Brewery, and then one of their signature beers was called the Cowbell. And then when I was looking at the menu, because I know you sent me the ones that they had 6-packs of and whatnot, and there wasn't any of them that really stood out to me, other than this was the one that had the coffee blonde, correct?
Yeah.
And that one wasn't available in the 6-pack. But I looked at their menu online and it said they sold single cans of mint Cowbell, and I was really kind of excited about that too. I said, okay, well if they don't have the coffee blonde in a 6-pack, but they had the single can of the mint Cowbell. That sounded really good.
I don't even think I checked for that, but it didn't look like they had too much, because their merch section was very, very small, and they had like the little refrigerator with stuff in it, but I didn't have a whole lot in it.
Now, did you try the regular Cowbell?
I got the big black Voodoo Daddy Stout instead.
You might have liked the Cowbell a little bit better.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
The other question I have off of that is, based upon the 3 that you went to, like if you had to pick, some of the other breweries that we've been to, whether in New Orleans or around the country, like which can you say that these 3 breweries are probably closest to for you?
Based off the beers they had, I'm trying to think which other ones had similar ones. Like I said, the Voodoo, I wouldn't even say it was comparable to the one we went to in Pittsburgh. Crooked Hammock had so few beers on tap, I wouldn't even know which one to even compare that one to. It was kind of like a restaurant though, so
Maybe like a capital city.
so that was kind of like Capital City that we went to in D.C., where it was mostly a restaurant. They only had a couple beers on tap. So Crooked Hammock was definitely similar to the Capital City in D.C. Honestly, let's see, Grand Strand. It was a good environment place. I would say that one was kind of similar to Checker Spot.
Okay, that was at the one with all the pinball games.
Yeah.
Would you say it was similar to like Urban Chestnut out in St. Louis? Because that one had a lot of pinball games. It had the.
I guess, but not. I mean, it wasn't. The setup was completely different because like that Urban Chestnut was in like a big ass parlor. We had those long ass tables. This one was. I mean, this one's the front kind of looked a little bit like Urban South, but the beers were a little bit better.
You don't say.
And this is coming from the guy that loves the lime cucumber goza. But as far as like the beer variety, I would say it was probably pretty similar to like Checker Spot. I'm trying to think of the ones we went to in Milwaukee.
Went to Broken Bat. We went to the Dead Bird.
The Dead Bird one was probably pretty similar to Grand Strand as well.
Did you acquire quote unquote any coasters from these breweries while you were there?
I don't think any of them had their logo on it. I think I got one coaster from Grand Strand, but it was like some other alcohol product. It wasn't their name on it.
By the way, I got you a coaster from Black Warrior Brewing and a sticker. I don't know.
All of them had stickers. I think that was one of the disappointing things when we went to some of the breweries in like Ohio is that they didn't all have stickers. Like Northern Row, where Travis brought me the growler today. That one didn't have any stickers, but some of them had coasters. I couldn't get none of these places because Crooked Hammock, Grand Strand, or Voodoo didn't have a coaster. They all had stickers though.
Okay. No,
like I said, Crooked Hammock and both Grand Strand had a ton of merch.
Okay. No. Anything else you want to add before I talk about the Tuscaloosa breweries?
No, I mean it was again all of them were good in their own right. Like I said, Crooked Hammock only had very few beers on tap, only like 5 of them, but overall, the South of Somewhere Golden Coconut Ale was amazing. Grand Strand, great environment, great beers. Salty Golfer and the Jolene Red Ale, both great. And I was surprised with the Voodoo because it was way better than the Voodoo that we went to in Pittsburgh as far as like the quality of beer. I really loved the raspberry lime cheesecake blender, and again the white mocha gold. What is that one called? The one that was like a coffee blonde.
Yeah, coffee blonde.
That one was really good.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I just got back from Tuscaloosa today, about 4:00. So we did do 2 breweries while we were there.
Roll Tide.
We did go to University of Alabama's campus. We didn't spend as much time there as I would have liked, just due to the people we're with, and a lot of they didn't want to walk the whole campus like I normally like to. But overall, good trip. Good to see my sister-in-law and brother-in-law and their kids, and spend some quality time with them.
I'm assuming that the campus is massive.
It is. And the crappy part is like all we really saw was like we also saw the football stadium. That was like the whole purpose of getting out there, just to kind of go out there. And it was right next to one of their stores, so we went there too. But it was mostly, the stadium is mostly by like fraternity and sorority row, so it's like all the frat and sorority houses up and down the street. We may have saw like one of their school buildings, and then the rest of it we didn't really even get to see. But while we were there, so we drove there on Friday, and it was just Heather and I and our dog Webby, and that was another big thing. Was like we had the dog with us, so we also had to make sure that these breweries were pet friendly. Well, Tuscaloosa actually only has 2 breweries, as I was telling y'all earlier. Both of them are pet friendly, so that ended up being a humongous plus, because we ended up getting. So the story: my kids actually flew there on Wednesday with my mother-in-law, and they stayed in Athens, Georgia, which is where my sister-in-law lives, for 2 days. And then they drove and met us, me and my wife, in Tuscaloosa, kind of as a halfway meeting point. And we ended up getting to Tuscaloosa about an hour and a half before my sister-in-law, their kids, my kids. So we're like, okay, well, since they're probably only going to want to go to one brewery, the kids don't really, like we said, if they have games, video games and pinball, they end up having an okay time. But for the most part, if you said, kids, do you want to go to a brewery or not, they're going to probably say no. They're not going to be all excited about going like we are.
But when we go on guys' trips, when it's accepted, I mean, they know it. They know it's coming.
Yeah, and like they come prepared with their iPads, phones, video game systems, whatever they need. But most of the time, they will have board games or pinball games or whatnot to keep them occupied. But on Friday, we got there about an hour and a half earlier than anybody else, and that was just me, Heather, and our dog Webby. And we were actually intending to go to Druid City Brewing first, but when we got there, we realized that they weren't open for another hour. Meanwhile, the other one was already open. It opened at noon, so we decided to go to that one without the rest of the crew. And this one was called Black Warrior Brewing. It's not. This one is it's a very small location, and both of these breweries are right smack in the middle of the college campus. Like, I mean, it's within walking distance from University of Alabama. Huh. And again, that's this one is on like a prime street. It's actually called University Avenue, and it runs right down kind of like a main street around the campus. And it's prime location, very small location, but it was when you walk in, it kind of gives you like almost like an upscale vibe. Like everything in the front is like new. Like, the stuff is like nice and varnished. The booths are like nice and varnished wood. They had a good bit of merch. I actually was contemplating buying a Dazed and Confused T-shirt, from Matt McConaughey's character, where it said it'd be a lot cooler if you did. I ended up passing on it.
Did it have the logo on it?
They just said Black Warrior Brewing on the back. It didn't have like the Arrowhead logo on it or anything like that. I thought about it, but then I was like, I'm just so picky with my shirts. I didn't want to get it and feel like it was going to be like not fit good or anything like that. So I ended up passing on it. But not a humongous amount of beers on tap. As a matter of fact, I sent you all the menu to it, and I'm going to go ahead and look at what it was. But it was probably about like 10 beers or so on tap, and probably about 5 of the 10 were canned. And the one that really stood out to me was actually called Calusa Cream Ale. And I that was the first one that jumped out at me, and I was like, oh, that's going to be the first one I try. And Heather's Heather's go-tos are always her favorite beers are always like the fruit lagers, like either blueberry or strawberry lagers. So she ended up going with the Sipsy Strawberry Blonde, and so she tried that one and said it was okay. She's spoiled by Abita, and we used to have Covington Brewhouse Strawberry, so Louisiana definitely brews some of the better strawberry beers. So she tried it and said it was average. But then when she went to get her second one, she was looking at it, and then she was like, oh, I might want to try the cream ale. I said, oh, it was the one I got first, and it was very good. So she tried that one, and then I ended up going back and getting the Crimson Red, which I think we can sample that too, because I brought Todd back a 6-pack of that.
Did they not have a 4-pack or a 6-pack of the cream ale?
They didn't. So we ended up getting a growler of that because after Heather tried that one, she liked it much better than the Strawberry Blonde. So we were like, you know what, since they don't have any to go, we're just going to go ahead and get a growler of that. So we did.
Did y'all share any with your house guests, or were y'all just hogging it for yourselves?
No, I mean, once you open a growler, you pretty much have to finish it that night, or it starts to go kind of bad. So we actually all, as a family, all tried a little bit of it. Between my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, even my mother-in-law tried a little bit of it.
Go, Miss Maria.
Yeah, I think when she goes, she's normally not a drinker. She's a very lightweight. So, and I think when we had the wine night, she tried a few glasses of wine and was probably good after like 2 glasses. So we ended up playing some games at home that night, and she ended up getting a little tipsy, and we all just had a good time.
Good for Miss Maria. My mom would act like the beer would straight up and just kill her instantly.
Yeah, she would die after drinking a glass. But no, look, they had an El Guerrero Mexican lager. It had apricot wheat, a Calusa cream ale, which you already said. They had a couple of IPAs. One's called the One and Only. One called Lock 17. Blood Orange double IPA. I was actually tempted to try that one, but there was too many other ones I don't want to try because I actually had a brown that I didn't try because we ended up having to leave, to go meet them. So I didn't try the brown ale. It was called Broad Street Brown. And then they had the Crimson Ale, which is a red lager, a red ale. Very good. And they had a mango sour, hard cider, and then their signature light beer was called T-Town. They also had that one to go. Big perk, it was dog friendly. We brought our dog in. They actually had 2 other dogs in the place too. So so we didn't feel like idiots being the only ones in there with a dog. So they had 2 other couples in there with dogs. Yeah, like I said, very small, quaint location, but very well kept. Owner was there. He actually came and talked to us, petted our dog for a little bit. He ended up telling us a little about, going to check out the other brewery in town, which we already knew about and had plans to do that the next day. So overall, like beer-wise, the 2 beers I had were good. The red ale was good, but the Calusa cream ale was even better. Wish I would have had more time because I probably would have wanted to try maybe the blood orange or the brown ale. But very, very nice, prime location. As a matter of fact, like I think about it from this angle, like, we talk about opening up our own brewery. We've had that talk multiple times, and we've always said Gnarly Barley was kind of like the thing that kind of set the standard. Having the brewery on one side, having across the street, having a big field where you can have events and games and stuff like that. This one kind of brought me to that feel a little bit too. It was definitely nowhere near as big as Gnarly Barley, but just the fact that it was like a small, location and a small place and a prime location seemed like a good place to really kind of put a brewery. So overall, I think the atmosphere was good. They didn't have. Kind of glad the kids didn't go. All they did have was board games for the kids. They didn't really have anything else. No video games, no nothing like that. So it wouldn't be a one the kids would have really appreciated. But I walked away feeling it was pretty good. Like I said, I would probably give that Calusa cream ale probably like a high 4, 4.8, 4.7, 4.8 out of 5. The red ale was pretty good too. That would probably get at least a 4 too, and Todd will be able to sample that. If I had to say like what kind of vibe that gave off that I was familiar with, I don't know. This one was a little different from a lot of the other ones I went to. Wasn't really known for the food. They had a couple of food items, but it wasn't really it wasn't like a bar and grill style. It was strictly like a brewery, but it was small and very well upkept. All right. And the second one we went to was very different. But we said both of these brewery owners, we got to meet both of them, and they were, in friendly competition with each other.
This one was more rundown.
This one was, it was, you talk about.
It was on the south side, the bad side of town.
They were only a couple of minutes apart. Like they were both. It was like almost like one was on kind of like one side of the campus and one was on the other side of the campus. They were both very close to the University of Alabama. And this one was just, again, much more laid back, low key. Again, a little more rundown vibe. It was kind of like you walk in and the furniture was like a bunch of hodgepodge. Like tables look different, chairs look different, a bunch of music memorabilia on the walls. They actually have a stage in a separate room where people, go perform. They're known to have live music at nighttime, but we went in the day, so there was nobody performing. They actually had a bunch of vinyl records, and then the bartender kept taking out different ones and bringing them and playing them. So it was playing music off of vinyl records the whole time. Video games, they had pinball games, they had board games. They actually had old school Nintendo 64, kind of like Miel. So a lot for the kids to do. So this one was definitely one. I ended up glad that we went to this one with the kids and not Black Warrior, because they had more to keep the kids occupied. And as a matter of fact, again, when we were ready to go, I don't know if the kids were ready to go because they had a lot to keep them occupied. They also had a bigger food menu, really good pizza. So the kitchen, actually, it's called Druid City Brewing in L's Kitchen, which is, so they're known to have food with their beer. Now, when we get to the beer, there was that was the downfall for me. They only had, I think, 6 beers on tap. So and two of the beers were sours, 3 IPAs, and then 1 Hefeweizen. And then they had a note on the board that they also brew a Pilsner, but the Pilsner was currently sold out. So they had a mark next to that.
This kind of sounds like the beer section at Miel.
Yeah.
Like a lot of sours, a lot of IPAs, nothing really, maybe not really any generics or anything like outstanding, but just like more like a specialty segment of beers.
Yeah, if I had to put like the environment of what this one kind of reminded me a little bit, going back to Omaha, we went to Farnham House Brewing, and like the inside reminded me a little bit of that. It had a little bit of like that mixed with Zoni mash, just kind of mixed with like just kind of like an upstart brewing company.
Yeah, it was when you started saying like the hodgepodge collection of furniture, like Zoni mash kind of instantly came to my mind. Do you remember? I remember when we went to Lazy Magnolia, they didn't have a whole lot on tap, and I know that place usually has some pretty quality beer.
Yeah, I think Lazy Magnolia kind of gets them their reputation on just having a couple of their signature beers, and then they'll throw out a couple of different ones every now and again, seasonals. But they really are known for like their staples, like the
pecan one.
Yeah. But again, there's nothing. They each had their own perks to it. Like I said, if I had to break it down, what I would have rather go to Black Warrior Brewing just because of the quality of beer they had. The environment was a lot more modern, a little bit cleaner. But as far as going there with a big group, they had the Druid City Brewing was more spacious. It had more for the kids to do. Had more food. The big negative is that Black Warrior Brewing had more beers and a little bit more variety of beer than Druid City. And so, as a matter of fact, just kind of give you an example. I've already said I'm not a big sour fan and not an IPA fan, but I was trying because the worst one I got was called Heavy Metal, and it was a very good Hefeweizen. So that was a perk. So it's basically like, all right, well, if I, when I get a second beer, if all else fails, I'm going to get another one of these. But before I got my second pint of the Hefeweizen, I did sample one of their IPAs, and it was called the Hazy Knot IPA. And, I was thinking it was going to have, maybe some kind of like maybe nutty flavor to it or something, but it was so hoppy that I was just kind of like, you know what, I'm going to pass and just not regret this and just get another Hefeweizen. So the Hefeweizen was A+. I mean, like, if I had to give it how many hearts out of 5, I would say 4.5, 4.6, and then, the rest of the beers were sours and IPAs that I didn't really want to try a full pint of.
Question: excluding let's say, quality of beers? Because obviously that's the number one reason you want to go to a brewery and the one thing you seek out when you go into some place. What would you say is one of the biggest things you look for in a brewery, or number one thing that you maybe want them to have, be it a wide selection or variety of beers to try, the atmosphere, pet friendly slash things for kids. Let's kind of just not table that because that could be so hit or miss. But like you're looking at it, you go to a new city, you're looking at the breweries. What's one of the number one things you want in a brewery or a new brewery that you're going to go out and try?
All right, so two things. I think Todd pretty much alluded to one. It's like when you go on Google and you look at the pictures. Like I think what you see from the pictures, like I kind of look for the ones that are a little bit less rundown looking, and then maybe that's the wrong way to go about it because like some of the ones that are more more rundown and haven't had as much money put into them end up having really good beers. But I do look at that, and I do think the type of beers that they're kind of heavy in, like as far as you'll check out the menu and then say like, all right, I know they have a lot of stouts and a lot of lagers and a lot of pilsners. Whereas the ones that you look at the menu and you see mostly IPAs and only like one stout, one lager. Those are the ones that are kind of pushed more off for me. I like this, I like the ones that have that bigger variety of stouts, lagers, etc.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. Like when I'm looking at the pictures, and again, this may be the wrong approach, but I'm looking at which ones are kind of nicer, But then again, I mean, you can go to one like Zony Mash, which is in a big ass old movie theater, and just have as many good beers there as one that's brand new. But I also look to see if it's kid friendly because I've gone to doors of breweries before where it said no one under 21 is allowed in this establishment. And I know you said the table, like the idea of like games and stuff for kids, but that's also like a key. Like if I'm traveling with my kids, I don't want them to be like, oh, this sucks. Well, I'm going to sit here and while you guys drink beer and we're just not doing anything.
Yeah, or if, like I said, you can't go because you have kids, that's definitely a deterrent, even though they might have a really good selection or atmosphere or whatever like that.
But also, like Travis said, I'll usually pull up the menu and see what kind of beers they have. If it's very, very IPA heavy, I'm probably not going.
And it's just to bring up the St. Louis trip. We just got finished talking about the year anniversary of that passing. To me, Urban Chestnut was a no-brainer because I looked online. They had two different locations, and one of them looked brand new, and that was the one we ended up going to. That was at the Grove. And, I mean, the place just looked nice, clean, spacious, getting stuff for the kids to do. And being that I think it had, like, a lot of German heritage to it, you were getting some good German beers when you went in there. So that was a humongous plus, and to me, that was a no-brainer to put on the itinerary.
I would say for me, the number one is probably variety of beer. My beer taste is kind of similar to you, Travis. It's very nuanced and very specific, certain things. But I'm willing to try something outside of my comfort zone if it sounds intriguing or looks interesting, things like that. So, but I like variety. I like options. I don't want to just be pigeonholed into only being able to have one or two, maybe even just three styles of beer. I'd like to have a bunch of options and want to go. I'd say the atmosphere of the place doesn't matter as much to me. If it looks a little run down, that's fine. Because, like, quite honestly, Brash is just like an old metal building, and I wouldn't say it looks run down, but it's not modern. They have like old kind of used and abused like wooden tables that have like carvings in them. A lot of the stuff on the wall is older. It's like a little dusty, but the quality of the beers is exceptional. The arcade layout is really cool, and it's very open and free flowing. So you can kind of walk in, they have outside seating as well. But yeah, for me, definitely the atmosphere, it matters. Maybe not as much. As long as the beer's good, I'll live through anything. But I think the big draw for me for Brash is really just there's metal and heavy metal, like rock music playing all the time at a decent decibel level. And it's just a really cool, laid-back atmosphere. And you see everyone dressed as from, like, a skater dude to, like, full goth to even, like, people dressed a little bit more preppy in the place. And it's all, like, just one big hodgepodge because they're there because the beer is so good.
Yeah, people walking in there looking like Dream from the Sandman.
Yeah, probably.
But I think you bring up a good point, Pat, that we shouldn't judge a book by its cover because I know I've praised Gnarly Barley in him before, but I think if you ask me what my favorite beer is just in the New Orleans area, I would probably say Second Line. And if you look at that, and yes, they've done a lot with the outside. It's got some nice picnic tables and some big screen TVs out there now, but it's a very simple concept. It's a metal building, nothing really special on the inside. But to me, they have some of the best beers in Louisiana.
Yep, I'd say that tropical stout and that coffee blonde are probably two of my favorites in the area.
Another thing I've noticed with a lot of breweries, maybe not even so much in Louisiana, is that let's say like some that have like a large, like 20 plus beers on available to you, they might do a lot of okay average beers, but none that really stand out. And I guess that's not a bad play. It's a safe play, but they don't really go outside of the norm very much or experiment much with some beers. Like I've seen some places that they have like 20, 30 beers on tap, and they're for the most part all okay, but nothing is really a standout. Like I would much rather a place have a 7 to 10, 15 beer range, and most of them be 4.5, and maybe that's asking a lot for a lot of breweries, because you have to make some just generic like lagers and ales and things like that for people, but make them good, elevate. Yeah. You have like your standard lager, okay, fine. Give me some sort of specialty lager to go along with it. And if you want to do a couple IPAs, I get it, totally understand. That's you have a market for it. But a lot of places I've been to have just been, we have 30 beers and like half of them are blah. 3 or 4 of them are, well, that's pretty good, but nothing to write home about. And I don't want to say Eureka Heights was like that, but it felt a little bit like that. They had a lot of beers, maybe like 15 or so. 2 or 3 of them felt like they were standouts. The rest were more generic and middle of the road, but they were good beers. So I don't want to sound like I'm trashing the beer. I enjoyed the place and the beers I had. So, but I do see that from time to time at places that big menu, and the beers kind of don't really wow me a ton.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think when you find one that you really like at a place that encourages you to want to go back and say, look, next trip here, I'm definitely going back to this one. And like, I think that was where we, all felt like heavy riff out of St. Louis. That wasn't even one we originally were thinking we were going to put on the agenda. And it just happened like, hey, third day, we get a little time to kill. Let's go to another brewery. Heavy riff's really close. Let's try it. And that ended up being probably I think I don't want to speak for everybody, but it might have been all 3 of our favorites on the trip.
Yeah, that was my favorite.
I mean, look at Rally Cap, staying local. Like, they have a decent sized selection, but most everything they do is above average to really good, but they're not overly like experimental, I would say.
Yeah.
Whereas you go to some place like Agile, they're very good with just going outside the norm, and they usually knock it out the park with, even from their generic beers to their more experimental options. They make really good stuff across the board, and it also helps that the atmosphere is really cool too.
Yeah, it's always great.
And Rally Cap is also another good example of what we just said about Second Line, and like you said with Brash, it's a very simple concept, sheet metal building, very simple on the inside. Really just board games for the kids, but our kids had a really good time at that one. They were playing apples to apples the whole time, and they had a good time there, and it was a really good beer.
Chifuncta has some solid beers, but that's also another very simple concept. They have a stage for live music, and it's an open.
Yeah, they usually have good music there.
Usually, and there's a lot of like music for our generation there, and performing artists. That's cool, but again, simple concept. It's just open area, tables, a bar, and a little stage, and that's it. But then the beers are pretty good quality for the most part. Gnarly Barley, very super, nothing crazy with the atmosphere, I'd say, but the quality of beer is up there. It's one of the better ones.
Yeah. One thing and this was originally we were supposed to go to Druid City last night. We ended up going for like a lunch instead of a dinner, and I kind of wish we would have went later in the afternoon, because they would have had music playing, and I think it would have been an even better time. But yeah, wouldn't have changed the beer selection, I don't think, for the day. But other than that, it would have even added more to the atmosphere of it.
Well, you have anything else to add about your trip? I know you only had 2 breweries to kind of review.
No. I think we're maybe ready to start sampling some of this. So.
Yeah, let's enough talking. Let's get to the drinking and sampling.
So why don't we go in order then, Todd? I got one extra that's not from one of the breweries that we came from, but we'll do that one last. But since Todd started, why don't we do that coconut golden ale? So tell us again, Todd, where this one's from.
This is south to somewhere. It's a coconut golden ale from the Crooked Hammock Brewery in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
And this was maybe you said your favorite?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it was my favorite in the whole trip, but it's definitely the best one they had there. I mean, I only tried that one because none of the other ones were really that appealing.
And let's see, this thing is 5.1%. Again, really cool can logo. Crooked Hammock. Okay. We'll see what you guys got. First sip. I get the coconut immediately, which is good.
I can smell it.
The coconut kind of not falls off, but it definitely tapers away, but it's still there on the back end.
Yeah, it's not overwhelming. It's not an overwhelming coconut taste. It's light. So look, this is something where like I guess we've talked about beers at a crawfish boil. Like this is something where you can be out in the sun and be dripping sweat and wanting a beer that would refresh you. I could see this doing that.
Yeah, I would say this is like a pool day beer. Yeah. Maybe not with like food or crawfish, something that's spicy. I'd be worried about crawfish spice mixing with coconut and just leaving like a weird taste. But if you're sitting at a pool or a beach or wherever, this like if it was super cold, I think this would be really good. You could knock back a bunch of this.
It's very crushable.
Yeah, I could see where this would be like one you would get on a flight and then want a pint of it for sure.
Yeah, it's got a good color to it. It looks a little not like urine-y, but
actually pretty close to urine.
Yeah, it kind of is. I didn't want to hit it too bad.
It does not taste like urine, by the way. It's great.
No, it actually is pretty fantastic. I'd give it
It's more like a diabetic's urine than anything, but.
So Todd said
I don't know what that tastes like.
So Todd graded this as a 4.8. I would say 4.6.
I'm gonna go a little lower, like 4.25. Good. I would enjoy more of it.
It's all above 4 though, man. It's good. It's God.
Absolutely definitely worth bringing back some and having. Doesn't wow me, but it's not. That's high praise though. So it's really good. I like it. I could knock back, like I said, like a bunch of them during the summertime. If I had this at kickball today, I probably would be a little less pissed off about how my game went.
Anybody want any more?
You could leave it out. I might drink the rest of it later if nobody else wants it. So the next one we'll do, this is the one Todd actually brought back for me. He actually had it at Grand Strand Brewing, and this is called the Salty Golfer Pineapple Blonde. My original thoughts on it was the pineapple hits you immediately. It actually goes in, to me, when y'all taste it, Todd already has it, but it goes in like a hint of pineapple, and but then when you swallow it, it's almost like that pineapple taste expands even more.
It explodes in your mouth.
So it's definitely not going to be like that pineapple Dole Whip I brought back from 903 Brewing, I believe.
No, I would say it's very close to that of the Chandelier Island pineapple as well as Maui.
So I think Todd brought up a point with the coconut, where he says, most of the time coconut beers are stouts or porters or whatnot. That's what you see a lot of the time with like pineapple. It usually comes with like the thick, creamy, like yogurt style beers. This was not necessarily that. This is a light lager. Again, it
almost smells like straight pineapple
the nose
juice.
is incredible. It smells like you had a can of Dole
juice.
pineapple.
Yep.
Yeah, Dole pineapple.
So see, there you take it in, you can taste it, but then like when I swallow it, it feels like that taste of pineapple almost expands even more.
And you see, it was like when I first tried it. Like I said, I was at the Ripken Park. Mark Reynolds was giving his little speech, and it was hot as hell outside. So this was extremely refreshing on a hot day.
I kind of like the coconut golden ale. Mm-hmm. Very refreshing for a good summertime heat beer. I don't get much of the pineapple on the back end like you said, Travis. It's still a good beer. I'd go a 4 for it. I'm not the biggest pineapple person in terms of just in general, but this is pretty good. Would drink more of it, sure. The pineapple kind of falls away a little bit faster to me, I think, but it's good. It smells fantastic though, so that's also a plus.
So I'm gonna give. So I gave the coconut golden a 4.6. I'm gonna give this one a 4.5. I actually like the coconut golden ale a little bit better.
So I was going to give it a 4.5 as well. It's good. It's not quite Maui good, but
That was gonna be my next question: is how do you rank it compared to like the Maui pineapple, which I think it's gonna be hard to beat for you guys.
I would say this one's probably a little bit better than Chandelier Island, but not as good as Maui.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was very disappointed in the Chandelier Island pineapple. But yeah, it's not as good as Maui pineapple. I think Maui has kind of set, much like we've talked about Sam Adams setting the standard for breweries and brew tours. I think the Maui pineapple has kind of set the standard for pineapple beers, and this is a little bit below it, but not far.
But now that I've had a quick little internal burp, I get the pineapple coming back up, and maybe I can see it on the finish that it's still there. It's very subtle, which is still good. But yeah, I maybe on the second go round, I taste a little bit more pineapple on the backside. But it's really good. It smells great. It tastes great initially. The pineapple stays there, but it's not overpowering. Like it's not like doctored up or like artificial pineapple flavored. It's pretty good.
So I will say this, I mentioned the Scare Bear watermelon sour. So much like that, when we passed it around the table, and the Calusa cream ale we passed around the table, we did that with this one as well. And this was met with much more favorable reviews than the watermelon sour. I think everybody pretty much loved the Calusa cream ale, at least the ones who spoke of it did. Some of them may not liked it and they just didn't say anything because they didn't want to hurt my feelings. But like I know.
Why would it hurt your feelings?
I don't know, because my mother-in-law is sensitive, so she probably wouldn't say that because she'd be like, oh, if I say that, he might, the Fernando seemed to really like the Calusa
Like,
cream ale.
this is really good. Oh.
Fernando went back and got a couple of pints of the Calusa, so he must have really liked it. But
I'll come up to a 4.25 because I think if I had this on tap right from the tap and it was like colder, like ice cold, this would be fantastic. Especially again. You okay there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
you sure?
I agree. So I've only had it out of the can, and I think you're right. I think coming fresh out the tap and a pint would probably be even better.
Like I said, this one was really good, and the Jolene Red Ale were both phenomenal at Grand Strand.
I'll go ahead and say it. If this were a local brewery and you could get this in a keg, I would be in favor of this for
Fantasy draft.
the fantasy draft to have on tap. This is especially again like we kind of pregame outside and on the grill, and then we go to the draft. Like pre-draft party, this would be a really, really good option. Even probably during the draft too, but especially outside, just kind of in the heat and some sun, this would be a really, really good beer. It's very refreshing. I think it would be much better on tap, but it's a solid beer.
But when we were talking about the South or somewhere, like it being in like a good swimming pool beer, I was thinking instantly this would be perfect to have for the fantasy draft when we're just chilling in the pool before we draft.
And yeah, this South is somewhere I could still see the sense the coconut is not overpowering and like artificial tasting. It would still be a good, say, fall time beer. You could still drink it when it's a little bit cooler. I think that would kind of that time of year would accent some of the coconut flavor and kind of play well. Yeah.
Actually, I was going to do Todd's the Black Warrior Red Ale next, but why don't we do this one next? Since this one, now that I'm reading the can, is actually this is called Martin House Brewing out of Fort Worth, Texas, and it is a pina colada coconut cream ale with pineapple. So it's a combination of both of the fruits. So why don't we go ahead and do this one next, just so that we get kind of like this while we're on the topic.
Both, yeah.
And this is one that you got at Saving Time?
I got this one at Saving Time, and I specifically was saving it for a pod. So
Have y'all had much by Martin House before?
It's like pink looking, huh?
It looks pineapple-y. Have y'all had anything by Martin House that you can recall or think of?
No, I don't think so.
So I haven't been because they're not in Houston, but they are widely distributed in Houston. Martin House is you want to talk about a brewery that does a lot of experimental beers and kind of goes outside the box. This is their signature thing. That's their thing. They have a lot of, we talked about it before, like in Dutex, a lot of like pickle flavored beers and things like that. That's one of their core things. They do a lot of pickle flavored things and just
variety. That's not the one that Mike brought that time, huh? That tasted like straight up pickle juice.
Honestly, yes, it was.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. It's not my go-to, my favorite choice, but I applaud them for going outside the box, and then they miss. they miss a decent amount in my opinion. But I'm all for them trying new stuff and like that.
Now let me just say, you smelled the salty golfer and said the smell was great. Like, this smells awesome.
Yeah,
Like,
it does. This almost smells like candy.
I don't know. I mean, again, taste will be another thing, but this smells delicious.
It smells like it has a little bit of funk to it.
To me, it's very sweet smelling. Like Todd said, candy. Like, you could smell.
I smell the sweetness, and maybe it's like not. Oh, I don't want to say this because it's gonna
The
like
beer itself is very sweet.
Not good. It's very almost like a cinnamon. Like, it's almost like cinnamon hits you.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not a humongo fan of this one.
No. Smells good though.
Yeah, I was excited to try this one, but this one goes below a 4 for sure. This is probably like a 3.
I like the smell more than I like the taste,
I
but I
agree.
don't hate the taste so much. It's different, and knowing this brewery a little bit from the samples I've had of some other stuff.
Better than some of the other stuff.
Oh, for sure. They do a fair amount of pickle flavored things. So
Travis is right though. There's a cinnamon taste to it. It's I'm not opposed to cinnamon beers though, because I really like the one that Urban South releases around Christmas time. It's the was it the
Reindeer beer.
yeah, it's the one with like the red nosed reindeer. I can't think of the name of it.
I don't know. So I'm not a cinnamon fan of cinnamon flavored anything, but I don't mind the cinnamon taste in this, although it was unexpected. But
Rain beer,
I'm gonna go
red nosed
3.5.
So I'm gonna stick with a 3 on this one. I'm not. Cinnamon is good in its own right. I don't know if I like the rain beer. I just don't like cinnamon in my beer. Like, much like a lot of the pumpkin spice beers. As much as I like pumpkin spice, we already know that the pumpkin spice beers to me are absolutely horrendous. And like this kind of reminds me a little bit of that when I get that cinnamon aftertaste. Cinnamon and beers to me don't mix.
Now you see the pumpkin stout that I brought from I think that was from St. Arnold's, right?
Yeah.
That one was actually pretty good, but like I'm not really a big pumpkin lager guy.
Yeah.
I'll give this a 3.2 though. It's kind of in between you guys.
I don't know when I would ever drink this. I don't feel like it's a summertime beer, and it's not a fall. It's too sweet to be like a cooler weather kind of beer, and it's not sweet / fruity enough to be a summertime or in the heat beer. But where's the can?
I think it's one of those ones that's worth a try, but probably like the Abita. What's the bubble gum beer that they had?
Yeah. Sean really likes
Juicy
that
Fruit.
One. Yeah.
Like
Worth a try, but I wouldn't get it again.
Individually, I can smell and taste the coconut. I can taste the cream ale, and I can taste a little bit of the pineapple. And I don't dislike the combination. I just don't know if it makes sense enough to where I would want much of this.
Yeah.
But it's not terrible. I've had plenty worse.
Oh yeah.
Not that I don't see the point to it. I just don't know when I would have this again. But if I only have a few options of beers, I would take this over probably a lot of IPAs that I see in general.
So I think it served its purpose. Like, I bought a can, and if I was drinking this on just a regular night of watching TV and just having a beer, I would drink it and probably not complain too much and just say, all right. But then I probably would never buy it again.
Yeah. Like if somebody brought over a 6-pack and along with a bunch of other beers, and like the next day we came over to hang out and there was only like 1 or 2 of these left, and I just wanted a beer or something to drink, I would do it. I wouldn't shy away from it, but not something I would be like, hey man, yeah, can you pick me up a 6-pack of that, or have another solo can of it before it's gone.
Yeah. All right. The last one we're gonna do is the red ale from Black Warrior Brewing. It's called Crimson Ale. Go figure, being that it's right by Alabama's campus.
I gotta lie, the logo for this brewing company is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, that's what the sticker is shaped like.
So it's got a little like arrowhead with a little tidal wave on it.
All right. Yeah. And what? It's a Crimson Ale.
Crimson
Okay.
Ale.
Yeah, it's a red ale, kind of like a.
All right,
like
we'll
a
fire that puppy
Killian's.
up. We only got like 10 minutes left.
Oh man, this is really red. It's like blood.
It looks like root beer.
Yeah, it's dark.
So it was like Todd, when text the menu to you guys. Todd said he would like to try the Crimson Ale, and I had actually decided to try it after I tried the Calusa Cream, and the Calusa Cream set kind of a high standard for me. It was a really good cream ale.
It's very dark, like almost like cola.
So I tried this one, and it's a good beer. It's not to me. It's like Todd's a big Killian's fan. It's not as good as Killian's, but it wasn't as good as the Calusa Cream Ale from Black Warrior to me. But it was a solid beer.
Okay. Yeah. I'm surprised by the color, the smells.
In all seriousness, this actually might taste a little better out the can than it had it out the tap, which is kind of strange. But
it tastes like pizza. Like pizza crust.
It kind of has the smell like a box, like a Domino's or a Pizza Hut box.
Yeah, and I don't say that in a bad way. It smells like if I got a box of a pizza and like the box that it came in.
Again, good beer. I actually.
Yeah, it's not Killian's good, but it's still solid.
I'm gonna stick with my rating of this at 4.4, 4.5.
I don't know what to think about this beer.
I'm going to say 3.9.
3.75. I have to rate it better than the Martin House Pina Colada. I would need another one of these to kind of sit down and have it by itself first with no other beer prior to really get a good evaluation of it, and then maybe have a Killian's right after to kind of comp, because I don't really do I haven't really had a ton of red ale in my life, so I don't know how to maybe properly rate it. It's not bad.
Look, this is weird to me because, like, I had this at the brewery and had it, on tap, and most of the time, tap beer tastes a lot better than can. But I actually like this better coming out the can than I liked it when it came out the tap.
Y'all aren't wrong about the pizza box.
Yeah, that's really throwing me for because you would think you tell someone, hey, it smells or tastes like a pizza box, like that's not a good thing, but it's not bad. It's just that's the first thing that comes to mind. Yeah, 3.75. It's fine. I don't know how much I would have of it. I'd probably want to taste it off the tap first to get a good comp to see if it's any different, but the aftertaste is odd to me. I don't know.
I like it. Like I said, I'm a good bit higher than y'all on it, but
this is definitely a cooler weather kind of beer for me. It's like fall time. For sure, I could probably drink a decent amount of this. My brain is just processing all the taste and flavor and trying to equate it to something. I don't know much of I can comp it to, other than maybe like Killian's, but being a lesser version of it. But it's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know we spoke about Golden Road Brewing.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say,
and that their red ale was really good too. Maybe even slightly better than this one. So maybe I'd put that one at like a 4.7-ish, something like that. That was the best beer they had on tap there, in my opinion. But yeah, maybe Patrick needs to start switching over to some red ales.
I was just about to say that maybe I should try more in the red ale category to kind of understand that palate a little bit better and maybe have a different opinion. But again, not a bad beer at all. I just my mind's kind of trying to figure out, trying to process everything. It's not bad. I drink more of it. I just don't know 100% how I feel about it. It would definitely deserve a second tasting and go around for me to make a maybe a better informed decision, but not opposed to it. I'll say that. Yeah. I could have no more of the Martin House coconut cream and I'm good. The South of Somewhere, give me more.
Yeah.
This, for sure, at least give me one more to kind of figure it out, but not bad at all.
Yeah. What about the Salty Golfer?
Oh, it's really good. I'd take some more of that too. Yeah.
Okay. Good. So yeah, well, I think we all kind of have similar consensuses on it. Then like we both really like the Salty Golfer, and what's this one called again?
South of Somewhere.
South of Somewhere. Both get good reviews.
Yeah, and shout out to these 4 different breweries. They're good quality products. I have no real issues with them. The Martin would obviously be the least of the 4, but knowing what I know about them, this is This is actually on the tamer side of from a taste standpoint of what they normally do. So I applaud the effort in trying something new. Didn't hate it, which is not something I can say for some of their other stuff.
No. So look, if you're in the areas of Houston, Myrtle Beach, or Tuscaloosa,
In Fort Worth,
in Fort Worth, yeah.
I'll be in Fort Worth in probably middle of August. I have a work trip for a bourbon company.
Are you gonna sneak away for a little bit to go to Martin House?
Maybe. Depends on our schedule. I don't know what our schedule's gonna be like. I just know what day we're going and what day we come back. But hopefully I can either get to a baseball game and or to one brewery out there. If it's Martin House, cool. If not, hopefully I find something else.
Yeah, well, something else might have a little bit better beers.
Yeah, just send us a menu, man.
I always try to. Speaking of, I do have a koozie for you next time I see you. I have I think a Eureka Heights koozie that coaster. I'm sorry, that I acquired.
I'll add it to the binder.
So yeah, so if you're in Tuscaloosa, go check out Black Warrior Brewing and Druid City Brewing. And if you're Myrtle Beach,
go check out the Crooked Hammock and the Grand Strand Brewing.
And Voodoo.
Oh, and Voodoo, yeah.
And on that delicious tasting note, Wagons out.
Wagons out.
Wagons out.